We'll start our presentation with a question. After 50 years of personal computing technology, how come most professionals still prefer to work with paper when they're dealing with complex projects? Well, the answer is in part because every manufacturer of reading, note-taking, and document analysis products has made their product look like paper to basically get the familiar user interface that we're all used to. But the result of that is you inherit paper's limitations without its benefits. It's not physical. You can't paste it up on the wall, lay it out on your desk, and the rest. And this problem really intrigued our founder, Craig, who spent 4 years at Georgia Tech researching this broad subject. And as a result of that research, was awarded 3 patents in unique user interface, 2 peer-reviewed articles, and a PhD. And ultimately, this became LiquidText. So LiquidText was very well received by the market. We believe it's the only productivity app to win Editor's Choice from both Apple and Microsoft. Apple, in fact, was so impressed that when we launched in 2015, they named us the most innovative iPad app of the year. Very exciting. And the company has been reviewed and written up just about everywhere, very broadly in general business, technical business, legal business, legal tech, and to an universally positive reception. But the comments that we're perhaps most proud of are represented by these 2, where Paul Kiesel, a famous consumer class action lawyer in the US, wrote for LexisNexis Law 360 that the world changed when he discovered LiquidText. Or Bob Ambrogi, probably the dean of American legal tech writers, noted that this app could forever change the way you read and annotate documents. Very strong praise. So let's talk a bit about the history of the company. First, product was launched in 2015, named Editor's Choice and Most Innovative App of the Year. In 2016, we entered revenue and actually had our first big deployment with the Choate Academy Rosemary Hall rolling out over 1,000 copies to all of its students. For those of you who don't know, Choate Academy is probably one of the most prestigious schools in the US. Its alumni include John Fitzgerald Kennedy and Ivanka Trump. So I think there are some ministers and princes and government heads who have learned data analysis with LiquidText. In 2017, we crossed our first million downloads. In 2019, we got to 2 million and began our SaaS and Windows versions. In 2020, we crossed 3 million, launched our Windows version. 2021, the SaaS platform launched. And in 2022, the enterprise discovered LiquidText. We crossed 5 million copies. We got Microsoft's Editor's Choice, but most significantly, the European Patent Office became our largest client with over 3,000 seats provisioned so that every patent examiner in Europe has access to LiquidText for analysis of patent data. Very, very exciting. And in 2023, it became very clear we had a tremendous fit in big law based on the number of large law firms reaching out to us to say, we already have dozens of lawyers who seem to have discovered LiquidText. We want to harness this and deploy this more broadly through the firm. We also were awarded our ISO 27001 certification, representing our commitment to best practices in security and privacy. And Gartner Digital has named us to the important Magic Quadrant in and emerging favorites in 2 categories. Number 1 being idea and knowledge management, and number 2 being PDF software. Very, very exciting. So what is it about LiquidText that makes it so popular? Well, at the heart of it, we are a single unified tool that covers and streamlines all of the processes of research, from gathering and organizing your documents, to reading, annotating, to creating your ideas and iterating and sharing with colleagues to get a finished product. One tool, streamlined process, is LiquidText. We'll go a little deeper. The major components of this experience are a unified desktop, which has all documents in the library, all documents that you read, and all your notes instantly available in one place. The second major element of LiquidText is visually connecting your source materials with other source materials, your notes, and your observations. And really, it's this capability which essentially replicates in our product the way the human brain works when it's collating, assembling data. This capability of reflecting and documenting the way we think about information when we analyze documents allows LiquidText to become your second brain. And we'll talk much more extensively about this during the demo. And then the last element that makes LiquidText special are those 3 patents on user interface, where we looked for discovering ways that the computer can help us access information in ways that paper can't, because paper is not a computer. And again, you'll hear much more about this, and we're illustrating here a pinch gesture, which allows you to bring all your comments and observations together with variable context, and is one of the most popular features of LiquidText. So with that said, enough for me, and I'm going to hand off to Craig, who's going to do a demonstration of LiquidText and Q&A. So that said, Craig, it's your turn.
Thank you, Stephen, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. As Stephen said, my name is Craig Cashman. I'm the founder and CEO of LiquidText, and what I'd like to do now is move on to the demo portion of this. So I'm just going to start by sharing my screen here. And we'll just head over to the LiquidText app and we'll begin the demo. So LiquidText is used in a variety of areas of law and even outside of the law, everything from M&A, IP law, litigation, and so on. Anywhere where people need to read long, complicated documents. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to use a litigation-based scenario. So let's take a scenario like this. Let's say you're a litigator and you have a client who had a novel stem cell procedure done to relieve her hip arthritis. Unfortunately, the procedure didn't work and she just ended up getting some inflammation. Again, so you have a client, novel procedure to relieve her hip arthritis, procedure didn't work, she just ended up with inflammation. So your client blames the surgeon, says he didn't do a very good job. But the surgeon says, no, the fault was actually with the client. She just was not a good candidate for the procedure, and he warned her of that. So we're going to try to figure out what's going on. So this is the LiquidText home screen. Here we have each of your projects. We're going to start by going to the McCaffrey stem cell case project. See, we open that up, and here we are. Now, this is the LiquidText editor screen. Over on the left, we have our documents list. These are all the documents that we need for this project. You see, in this case, I've already imported all of these documents into the project. But in a real project, I could continue importing these, modifying them, reorganizing them, even replacing them with newer versions as the project went along. Also, in this project, it's fake, so we only have like 6 or 8 documents. In a real one, you might have thousands. Over here, we have the reading area where you can have the document or documents that you're reading right now. And finally, over on the right, we have the workspace. This is where you gather information from the different documents, assemble your notes, and sort of start putting together your argument. Okay, so our first question with all this is, was our client actually a good candidate? Since that seems to be the sort of first issue. To find out, we'll go and we'll add a little text box here. And we'll say, was she a good candidate for the procedure? And we'll just tag this red and make this a little bigger. Okay. So now to find out whether she was a good candidate, let's go to our documents list here. I'm going to start by going to the regulatory bodies folder and going to this research report from a medical agency. It talks a little bit about this type of procedure. And over here, I found something that looks like it could be helpful. It says most adults are good candidates for this type of procedure. Well, that looks like it could really help us. I want to keep track of this. So instead of just highlighting it, I'm going to take it and I'm going to drag it off like this, you see, from the document into my workspace and connect it to that little title heading I made before. So now notice what I've done. I've mixed bits of the original text with bits of my own thoughts, in this case, a title heading. Now you'll notice there's a little white arrow here on that excerpt I pulled out. What is that white arrow for? That white arrow is your magic home button. Wherever you are, you can tap that white arrow and get right back to the source of the excerpt that you pulled out. So you are never more than one tap away from context. Okay, great. So now as I keep reading, it says there's a figure a few pages down that sheds a little bit more light on this. So I'd like to compare this text with that figure. But of course, comparing figures and text across pages is actually kind of awkward. But in LiquidText, it's not. I can actually just take my fingers and pinch and squeeze the document together like this, you see, and bring the text and that figure side by side, like as though my document was made of rubber. See, this is one of the great things about LiquidText. It makes it easy to see the important information together so that you can discover new connections and insights. Okay, so it looks like this diagram will be helpful. I'm just going to take it, select it here, and pull it out into my workspace like this. Now, something I'll mention, the way I did that pinch gesture a moment ago was the way I brought the two different pages of the document together a moment ago was by literally just pinching my fingers against the screen because I happen to be doing this demo on an iPad. But of course, LiquidText runs on your traditional PCs as well, even your Mac. In those cases, instead of pinching against the screen, you just use the mouse scroll wheel to accomplish the same thing. So it works great on your desktops as well. Okay, so now here you see I have my title heading, I have some text, and I have some images that I pulled out from the original document. So you see I'm starting to build the backbone of my argument here in the workspace. Okay, so now the question is, now that we know a little bit more about the algorithms for who's a good candidate, let's find out if our client qualifies. So let's go back to our documents list here. Let's go down to patient medical record, and we'll open the medical record for our client, Arlene McCaffrey. Now, what do we know about our client? Well, let's first of all go to inking mode here. Okay, what do we know about our client? Well, first of all, we see she has diabetes, we see she has hypertension, and we see she has arthritis. So with that, let's take a look at the algorithm here. Well, is she under 65? Yes. Is she immune compromised? No. Does she have a history of carcinomas? No. But does she have high blood pressure? Yes. So you see our client is squarely in the closely monitored category. So I want to note that. So I'll just create another little text box here and say she is in closely monitored category. Okay, that's very helpful to know that. But the problem is I need to do more than just note that she's in the closely monitored category. I need to be able to justify it because I know in court, I know the opposing counsel is going to argue that she's not in the closely monitored category. The problem is the justification that she's in this category is over here in her medical record. How do I get from my notes over here to the medical record over here? Well, normally this is tricky, but in LiquidText, it's actually very easy. Just as Stephen was alluding to earlier, I can just draw a line, a simple line from my document right over here into my notes. And look what LiquidText does. It creates a living line, an ink link between my document and my notes. So wherever I am, even for example, if I'm in another document, I can always just tap that link and immediately get back to what's on the other side. What this means is that I'm never more than one tap away, not only from context, but from the justifications and the sources behind my arguments. Okay, so this is great. So now let's say we have a pretty good understanding of what kind of candidate our client was, and she's in the closely monitored category. That's not too bad. So the question is then, why did the procedure fail? Well, maybe the surgeon made a mistake. We should investigate that. To investigate, we'll go over here, create another text box and say how the surgeon performed the procedure. Okay, and maybe we'll make that a little wider and we'll make that green. So to find out how the surgeon performed the procedure, well, first we'll go back to our documents list here. We'll go first to the surgeon's deposition transcript. You see, here we have it. Now, you'll notice to begin with, I've already gone through earlier and highlighted and tagged the key steps that the surgeon performed. So the first thing I want to do is get an overview of these, see kind of how one step flows into the next. Normally getting an overview is challenging, but with LiquidText, I can just tap Highlight View and do that same pinch gesture, but now you see what it does. It brings all of the highlighted and tagged text together as I squeeze. If I squeeze apart, I see more context. If I squeeze the document together, I see more of an overview. I want to learn more about this purple point here. So I just put my fingers around it, squeeze apart to see the context. And nope, I don't think it's going to help me. So I just squeeze back together to get back to the overview. So it's a great way to, again, see the most important information together with however much context you need. And it's a great interaction, but unfortunately in this case, it has not revealed any mistakes that the surgeon made. So I want to dig a little bit more deeply into the way the surgeon performed the procedure. So I want to pull out the steps the surgeon took. So first we have this step about preparing the stem cell culture. I'll just, since I already highlighted it, I can just double tap it and drag it right out into the workspace like this. Next, the surgeon prepped her for surgery. I'll pull this out as well. They ran some blood tests. I don't even have to actually drag it out. I can actually just tap auto excerpt and it'll bring it out for me like that. They performed the arthroscopic incision. There we are. Inserted a dissolving joint spacer. There we are. And now it mentions the following two steps actually happened before the dissolving joint spacer. So I'll just drag these out as well. Drag the bone fascia and remove the synovial fluid. And you see, this is one of the great things about LiquidText. Because you have this workspace, you're not bound to the order of content in the original documents. You can rearrange and restructure it and reorder it into the form that makes the most sense for your project and for your task, rather than what the author of the documents had in mind. Okay, so next they applied the ICM matrix gel. They let the gel set for 15 minutes. That sounds important. I'll just highlight this in yellow. They discovered and shaved off a small bone spur. That's interesting. They applied the stem cell culture. And finally, closed the patient up. Well, on the face of it, I don't see any obvious mistakes in here, but maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe the surgeon didn't follow the directions correctly. So let's go back to our documents list. Let's go to Galaxidrin product info and go to the Galaxidrin product manual. And let's see what we find. How is the procedure supposed to be performed? Well, let's see. Patient pre-op, prepare the bone fascia, the articular cartilage, prepare the joint, apply the ICM matrix gel, leave it undisturbed for 15 minutes, remove the excess, apply the stem cell culture, and close the patient up. Well, on the face of it, it looks like the surgeon performed the procedure correctly to the letter. So what could have happened? Well, maybe we're going about this the wrong way, right? Maybe instead of thinking about this in terms of how did the surgeon perform the procedure, maybe we should see, was there anyone in the clinical trials who had a similar failure mode to our client? Maybe that'll shed some light on this. So to find out, let's go back to our documents list here. Let's go to regulatory bodies folder and go to the phase 3 clinical trials for Galaxidrin. And you see, we have a lot of information here. But the only thing I'm concerned about is, did anyone in the clinical trials have the same failure mode as our client, namely inflammation? To find out, I want to do a search. Now, of course, I can just click the find button, but in LiquidText, we know that searching is a critical part of your workflow. So we try to make it really fast and easy. I don't even have to click any button. I can just start typing, INFLAMMATION, and there you are. As soon as I start typing, LiquidText brings up a context-sensitive dialog box with different options for what I typed. In this case, different searches. So I'll just press return to search the document. And you see it found 5 results. But unfortunately, these are spread all over the document. You see the little red lines here, here, and here. Those are indicating where the search results are. They're spread all far away. I really want to see them together so I can find which one is most relevant. So again, I take my fingers, I squeeze the document, and you see it brings all the search results together, just like I was able to do with the highlights earlier. If I squeeze apart, I have more context, squeeze together to see everything at once. And again, I happen to be doing this demo on the iPad, so I can just pinch my fingers against the screen. But if you're doing this on your traditional PC or your Mac, you can just do this with the mouse scroll wheel. Now, this point here looks like it might be promising. I'm going to squeeze apart around this one to see if there's anything useful there. No, that one's not going to be helpful. What about this one? This one also looks like it might be promising. I'll squeeze my fingers apart around this one. Ah, yes, this one is helpful. Here we actually have something useful for us. It says that there was one patient, one subject in the clinical trials who had inflammation coinciding with a failure of the treatment because the administering surgeon only applied the ICM gel for 2 minutes instead of the indicated 15. Well, that's huge. Maybe that would shed some light on what happened in our case. So I'm going to take this point here, drag it out into my workspace, and I'll just highlight it red. And you see the source becomes red as well. And maybe the same thing happened with our client. Maybe the surgeon simply didn't leave the ICM gel on for the indicated 15 minutes. But, I see in the notes here, it says the surgeon claims he left it on for 15 minutes. I can even tap the little arrow and see in the deposition transcript where he says he left it on for exactly 15 minutes. So what could be going on here? Hang on. Excuse me. So perhaps the surgeon simply didn't recall correctly or is even trying to mislead us. To find out, let's go back to our documents list and let's take a look at the lead nurse's deposition transcript. So let's see what she has to say. So as we look through the lead nurse's deposition transcript, well, for better or worse, it turns out she agrees. She concurs that exactly at the 15-minute mark, they removed the ICM gel. So that seems to suggest the surgeon was right. But maybe there's something else we're missing. Why don't we compare what the lead nurse and the surgeon say about this, about the procedure, to see if there are any discrepancies that might shed light on what really happened there. So I'm going to take the surgeon's deposition transcript here, and I'm going to drag it out and bring it up like this, side by side with the nurse's. So you see now we can see the nurse's deposition transcript and the surgeon's together. So let's see, is there anything useful, anything that would help us in here? And at first I don't see anything, but then I do see something interesting. I note that after 10 minutes, the nurse mentions that a small bone spur was shaved off of our client. And critically, the surgeon agrees that this happened after 10 minutes. But the nurse mentions something the surgeon neglects to mention, that after shaving off this bone spur, the surgeon flushed the debris out of the joint using saline. Well, that's very significant. Maybe spraying the saline after only 10 minutes in some way interfered, disrupted the proper setting of the ICM gel. Well, I don't know. This is maybe getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it's definitely worth keeping track of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point and drag it out into my workspace, of course. The second thing I want to do is connect the nurse's and the surgeon's deposition transcript around this point about the 10 minutes. So let me show you what I mean by that. You saw earlier how I can draw a line to connect my documents and my notes. Well, I can also draw a line to connect two different documents. So I'm going to draw a line from the nurse's point about this procedure being 10 minutes to the surgeon's, just like this. And you see now LiquidText has created an ink link between my documents. So what this means is, let's say I'm in trial and I note that this bone spur was shaved off after 10 minutes, and opposing counsel says, no, we have evidence that it was after 15 or 20 minutes. I don't have to fumble through my notes. I don't have to search through my documents. I simply click the link and instantly get back to the point in the surgeon's deposition transcript that corroborates what the nurse said. What this means is, again, to that point of a second brain, the network of connections and associations that you build in your head, that's how you kind of construct your arguments, how you justify and support your points. You can now capture this in the documents themselves right on your computer in front of you. So it makes it incredibly easy to provide the reasoning and the justification behind your arguments. Okay, this is great. So this is a good working theory, but we need a little bit more evidence that spraying the saline disrupted the procedure. So first, let's go back to the Galaxidrin product manual, see what we can find there that might help us. Well, we see that it does say you need to leave the ICM gel undisturbed for 15 minutes. So I'm going to select that, pull that out, into the workspace as well. And we'll also highlight that red since it's pretty critical. But this still does leave us with one big question. Saline is very mild stuff. Could spraying saline actually disrupt the ICM gel? Well, I'm not sure offhand, but I do notice we have the material safety data sheet for Galaxygen. Let's see what it says. So as we go through it, at first I don't see anything particularly useful, but then I do come across a point that I think will help us. Solubility in water, very high. Look at that. If the solubility is very high, then that means that spraying saline probably could wash it away. So this is probably what happened. I think we have a pretty good theory. I think we have a pretty good theory for this case. So I'm just going to create a text box here. And we'll say, let's raise the font size a little bit. And we'll say, conclusion. The surgeon accidentally washed away the ICM gel after only 10 minutes when he sprayed saline to remove bone fragments. Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. So since our conclusion point is related to this excerpt and this excerpt, I'd like to be able to show that. I'd like to be able to visualize that connection. Now, you remember how I was able to connect documents and notes by drawing lines and documents by drawing lines, but I can also do this with notes and notes. So I'll just draw a line connecting these two excerpts to this conclusion point, and you see it creates, again, living lines connecting them. Now, this is a very small project, but in a real one, these could be separated by quite some distance, and you can simply tap one end of the line to get to whatever is on the other end of the line. Effectively, you can start to shape your workspace into a mind map. Well, that's terrific, but the court does not want to see my mind map. The court wants to see a nice finished linear document. So how can I get from all these great notes and ideas to a nice linear finished document? Well, in LiquidText, we give you a few tools for doing that. I can just go tap the send button, and in this case, we can select Notes Outline. And you see what the app does. It takes all of my notes, all of my highlights, and shapes them, forms them into a nice linear document that I can send to Microsoft Word with one click. Now, let's say this point about removing the debris with saline is a really critical point, as it is. So even in the document that I export to Word, I want to be able to get back to the original source for this. How can I do that? Well, let me show you. I'm just going to go back, select this point again, and now I'm going to select Copy Link. And now it copies a link to the clipboard. And I'll just paste that link right into my conclusion note over there. And of course, as you would expect, if I click on that, it takes me back to what this link refers to. Now you say, well, why do we need text-based links? We have these wonderful visual ink links. That's true, but text-based links have one magic power that ink links do not. That is, they work across applications. So let me show you what I mean. So to make this a bit more dramatic, let's go to, say, a different document here. And now let's go back to Send, Notes Outline, and we'll export this right over to Microsoft Word. There we are. And so now you see we have in Microsoft Word all of our notes and everything from our workspace. And over here, we have this point on the bottom, that link that we created a moment ago. If I click this link, it takes me back to LiquidText, right to the same project, to the same document, and even the same point in the document, and highlights what that link refers to. This means you can have great cross-product, cross-application workflows using LiquidText. Okay, that's terrific. Now, you noticed, or you'll note that I mentioned at a few points that I happen to be doing the demo on my iPad, but if I was doing this demo on my PC, it would work pretty much the same. There would just be, I'd use the scroll wheel and the mouse instead of doing pinch gestures on the screen. Well, since LiquidText works in multiple devices, you might ask, how do they work together? Well, for that, let me show you. Now this, unfortunately, I can't do a live demo. I have to show a little video, but it works pretty well also. So here's a user using LiquidText on their PC and her iPad at the same time. LiquidText has real-time synchronization. So you notice the actions that she takes on her iPad are reflected on LiquidText on her PC virtually instantly, just like that. What this means is you can use each device for whatever it's best for, and you can actually use them together. So for example, organizing large amounts of content. You see, that tends to be a lot easier to do on a big screen rather than a small screen. And you see, as our user does it, it's reflected on the iPad. Likewise, doing freehand inking is a lot easier to do on a tablet than on a big screen. And you see, as our user does freehand inking on her iPad, it appears almost instantly on her Windows desktop as well. So for example, let's say she does something that's really convenient to do on the desktop. In this case, document comparison with the big screen. She sees two documents related, and then she creates an ink link from a document into her notes, just like we did earlier. And then now you see that ink link appears on her iPad, and she can tap it to follow it even on the other device. What this means is you can use your devices together and just pick whichever one makes the most sense for each step in your workflow. Okay, actually, we'll just go back here. And with that, let me pause here and take any questions.
So we're now open for Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please submit them, and we'll be happy to answer. Well, this is a quiet and well-behaved crew. I've been answering a few as they've come up, but once again, Betsy Zhang has a question. If you would go into the Q&A and type it in, I will be happy to read and answer it for you. Well, Richard would like to know more about the AI features.
Yes, indeed. Let's do a quick demo of that here. Okay, so beautiful. So actually, maybe we'll just hop in there and just redo that, begin that from scratch again. So in the demo earlier, in order to find out who was a good candidate for this procedure, I actually had to spend a lot of time reading this document and searching for who is a good candidate or not. But let's say that's only a small side task of the larger project that you're working on. It might be nice to use the AI to try to find that answer for you. And so the way the AI works in LiquidText is you type in any text box, you simply type /. And as soon as you type /, it brings up the different options related to AI and document analysis generally. So we have two options. First, /AI to ask a question about your documents, or // to automatically link. In this case, we're concerned about the first one, asking a question about your documents. So I'll type /AI and then write, who is a good candidate for the stem cell regeneration procedure. Now you'll notice in the little pop-up, it lets me select which documents it's going to search when it answers this question. So if I want, I can actually select all, and it'll search through all of my documents looking for information to answer the question. But in this case, we're just going to go select visible. It'll be a little bit faster, and we'll just search this document for the answer. So as soon as I press return, it analyzes my document, connects to ChatGPT, finds the parts of the document that are most relevant, sends them off, and within a few seconds, as you see, derives an answer. Now, the beautiful thing about the way we do this is we work with ChatGPT, so it doesn't just derive an answer from random stuff that's found on the web. It specifically derives an answer from your document or documents. And as a result, after each statement it makes, it includes a link to that exact point in your documents that it's using to derive its answer. So you see, I can literally click right here and get to the exact points that ChatGPT used to build its answer. So this is the first point with our AI. The second point is simply automatic linking, or automatic citations and linking. So I'll just make that a new box here. Let's say I'm taking notes on the document that I'm reading. This one's a little bit long. Let's find something that's going to be a little bit, actually, no, that's a good document. Let's find an interesting point. Okay. Let's say I'm taking notes on this paragraph of my document here. And I write, let's say, human stem cells can be used to gain access to various adult cell types. Now, since I'm taking notes on my document, I'm reading one of these paragraphs right here as I write this. Normally, if I want to show that this note pertains to one of these paragraphs, I would have to draw an ink link or make one of those text-based links, but we figure maybe we can help you with this a little bit. So I can just type // and LiquidText finds the paragraph on the screen that I was probably taking my notes on. And if I agree that it's correct, I can just press return, and the AI automatically inserts a link right there, see, to that paragraph. This makes it a lot faster and easier to take notes and to write my thoughts about the things I'm reading without having to manually go through the process of creating these citations and links over and over again. So that's our AI in a nutshell. Let me know if you have any questions about it.
We have a question about collaboration.
Excellent. So today, the way you do collaboration with LiquidText is you simply click on send, and you send the entire LiquidText project file to your collaborators who can continue working on it and send it back to you. But we know that's a little bit awkward. So we're actually working on a real-time invite-based collaboration system. So you can simply invite your colleagues into the same LiquidText project, and you don't have to send any files by email or anything like that. You simply invite them, and they begin working on the same project with you in real time. This should be out before the end of the year.
Okay, we have a question, excuse me, asking if highlight view can filter different colors.
Oh, that's a good question. Highlight view per se does not have that, but what we do have is for things that are based on a tag rather than a color, you can select which tags you want to view. So for example, in this document, let me actually just show a little bit about how tagging works to make that a little bit clearer. So let's say I select some text here, and I want to indicate that this text is one of the procedural steps that the surgeon took. LiquidText has a tag editor where I can create all different kinds of tags. So let's say we have different types of tags about the procedure the surgeon performed. So let's say we have procedure, and let's say we make a tag for what we believe are mistakes the surgeon made. We'll make this bright red, and we'll add this. And you see now it's tagged this piece of text with procedure mistake. And let's say we think there are a couple of other mistakes, and we'll go through and just tag these as well. And you see all these points that I tagged in green earlier. These are all procedure steps. So this is just a step that the surgeon performed. So let's suppose I'd like to see all the procedure mistakes together. I can just go to search here, do a tag search, and select procedure mistake. Search for tags. And you see now when I pinch, it brings together all of the places that I tagged with procedure mistake. On the other hand, let's say I want to see all the procedure steps that the surgeon performed. Again, go to tag search, select procedure step, search for tags, and same thing. When I squeeze, it brings together all of the things that I tagged with procedure step and how the surgeon performed the procedure. So again, although we don't have selection for the color for highlight view that you want to see, As long as you just use tags instead of straight highlights, you can do effectively the same thing just using our search.
We have a question that asks you to tell more about our OCR support.
Terrific. We have OCR support built into LiquidText. Anytime you bring in a document that needs to be OCR'd, it will bring up a little pop-up asking you, would you like to OCR this? What would you like to do? You can, of course, also just tap the 3 dots or right-click, and we have OCR text detection right here. You see, there's a lot of little nuances about it, but one of the great things is if you're doing this on your on an iPad, for example, it has the option to automatically OCR a page as soon as you go to it, so that you can start selecting text, creating excerpts and things like that without even going through the full document OCR process. To do things like searching, you need to do the full document OCR process, but that generally doesn't take too long. And on Windows, it's not possible to do that instantaneous OCR, but of course you can do the full document OCR just like you can here. Now, one of the things I'll note is LiquidText uses your own device, on-device capabilities to do the OCR. So doing OCR does not send anything to any outside third-party service.
Can we link two iPads while working on LiquidText on the same IP/Wi-Fi?
I'm not sure what you mean by link exactly, but you absolutely can have 2 devices with the same project at the same time. As long as you're using our LiquidText syncing service, just like you saw in the little video I showed before. In that video, a user had LiquidText on a PC and on an iPad. You can, by the same token, have LiquidText open on 2 of your iPads, open to the same project, and they'll still be in real-time sync. And just one more point I want to throw in. Our LiquidText synchronization service is actually really flexible and designed for a lot of different security options. For example, some of our customers don't really like the idea of content being sent up to the cloud. And so our synchronization server can actually be installed on-premise, as well as with a variety of different security options. So just something I wanted to add in. But go on. Let me know if there are other questions.
Okay. We have a question that asks if handwriting in the workspace transfers when you export notes.
That's a good question. So it does not transfer if you export as a Word document, but it does transfer if you export as a PDF. So I can actually show you that. I'll apologize for my terrible handwriting here, but we'll just go to send. We'll go to PDF file, and let's say we'll just export sort of simplified version of this. Let's say we'll set up the settings, and we'll export this PDF, let's say to Acrobat. And you see, there's the ABC that I wrote. Other questions?
How can I link my iPad with my desktop or my iPhone?
Well, I'm sorry to say we don't have an iPhone version just yet, but we're very interested in the features and functionality that you all need. So if an iPhone version would be important to you, please contact us and let us know. And not just iPhone version, anything that you would love to see us add, we really want to hear about it. So please let us know. As for how to link them, very simple. Just get a LiquidText, subscribe to our LiquidText Live or Live Unlimited service. And when you log in with the same LiquidText account on both devices, everything will be connected.
Richard asks, will there be support for multi-language OCR in the same document?
Multiple languages in the same document? I don't believe that's supported right now. I believe it does have to be document by document. But again, if that's something that would be important for your workflow, please let us know, and we can see if it's possible.
Okay, an anonymous attendee would like you to explain the outline feature.
Sure. So unfortunately, in these documents, the outline feature doesn't have much to add. Uh, the way the outline works is the outline simply lists the table of contents of the document of the original PDF that you imported. Now, I'll give you a sneak preview. Something that we're adding right now and will probably be out in the next couple of weeks is being able to add your own bookmarks. So you'll be able to, say, select some text, go to add bookmark, and then it'll add a bookmark item into the outline. So the outline will be a mix of being able to show you the original table of contents of the original PDF, as well as the bookmarks that you add to it. But this, again, it will be out, is set for launch in a few weeks.
Okay, we have a question of how do we change the zoom factor when double clicking in the workspace?
Sure. So the workspace, when you double click the workspace, it tries to zoom out to show you everything to the extent that it's able. And you'll notice when it does that, it brings up these little labels to give you some landmarks about what the different excerpts and text boxes are at each of these locations, because they're usually too small to read at that point. And then double tapping again zooms you back in. So double tapping is really meant to be a sort of zoom to see everything, or a zoom back to 100%. If you want to control it more specifically, on an iPad, you simply pinch zoom, just like this. And on let's say a PC, you simply use your mouse scroll wheel, though depending on your settings, you might need to hold down Shift or Control. You can set more settings for how that will work for you here in the options menu. I don't have that one on the iPad, but on your PC, you'll have some options around workspace zooming.
All right. There's a question of why would highlights ever be better than just tagging?
It all depends on your preference. For some people, the semantics of deciding on naming a tag and things like that is just more overhead than they feel like. And so we give them the option for highlighting as well. But again, functionally, the two of them are very similar. And certainly for advanced use cases, tags are probably preferable.
Mohammed suggests that he would like to have the option for making workspaces either infinite or pages like A4, so that when it prints the whole project, it will be easier to read.
Well, we can support that already to some degree. If we go to our workspaces list, and just as an aside, this was a very simple project, so there was only one workspace. In more complex projects, you'll probably want, multiple, even dozens of workspaces. So just to illustrate our example, I just created a new workspace here. And you see, I can go and customize the style. So for example, maybe I'll set it to college ruled style. And let's see, maybe I'll make the background yellow. And you see, now we actually have basically an infinite list of A4 pages that you can use as needed. And once you do this, then if we, let's say, pull out some excerpts, for example, if I were to go to send and print this, let's say again as PDF file, you can go to match pages to workspace background pattern, and the PDF that it generates, each page of the PDF will represent just one of these, in this case, A4 pages. So I'd love to hear if this supports what you need, or if you'd like some changes or enhancements to that.
Juan asks, are we exploring the possibility to export the outline to Markdown to make it compatible with products like Obsidian or Notion?
It's something we've thought about. If this is important to you, definitely please send us a message. Send me an email. I'm Craig@liquidtext.net. So by all means, send me or Stephen, or just contact our customer support and let us know. It's something we've thought about. We've had some customers ask for it. It hasn't really gotten to the threshold of making sense to add in yet. But again, we're very open to it.
Okay, this is a complicated one, but one that is actually happening more frequently. Nirav mentions, thank you. However, in my experience, I've seen LiquidText being used in conjunction with oral submissions with page numbers as a reference tool on iPads. If a judge also uses LiquidText and opposing counsel is using LiquidText, then is there a way we can all collaborate, perhaps in a restricted way, as some thoughts may not be expressed in open court? But this concept of the
Yes.
prosecution and judge using LiquidText all at the same time is happening more frequently all the time. Craig, your
Yes.
comments?
Absolutely, yes. So what I would say is today we don't really do what you're asking for of having these sort of uh, private areas that are private to each person while having a shared document. But that is actually what what the spec is for the collaboration features that I was talking about earlier. As I mentioned earlier, we want to have invite-based collaboration later this year. And one of the key things that we want to do with that is we want to have each workspace is going to be able to have its own permissions. So for example, you see I have two workspaces here, this one and this one. So what you would be able to do is say, this workspace is private only for me, whereas this workspace is shared between myself and opposing counsel and the court. And so this way each, and then likewise, the judge can create his or her own private workspaces within this project, and opposing counsel can as well. This way you can all work in a project with the same shared documents and with some shared workspaces while also having your private spaces. So yes, this is exactly what we're planning to do. And if you have any feedback on that or other specifics about how you would want to use this feature, we would love to hear it. And I would specifically very much encourage you to please reach out to us, and we'd love to talk to you.
Well, an anonymous attendee notes that the Supreme Court in India uses LiquidText for most cases. And in fact, we've seen live streaming tweets of pleadings in front of the Supreme Court in India, where we've noted one of the judges giving the Solicitor General advice on tech support on how to format something under LiquidText. So this concept of multi-party usage of LiquidText in a single courtroom is a real one. So at any rate,
Yeah,
but that was kind of cute.
yes.
Is it possible to duplicate annotations in a different workspace?
Yes, it is. For example, if we just, let's say, select these two over here, we do copy, and then we go over to the second workspace, and then we do paste. See, it just duplicates these directly. And their links even still work in the duplicates.
Okay, there's a feature request suggesting it would be nice if when exporting tags would be tags would be exportable and highlights would be labeled instead of just the color.
That's a great feature request. Yeah, what I would ask is if you could please write to us and just explain a little bit more about your use case and how you would use that feature. That's the best thing for us. And that helps us think about whether we can add it, what the specs would need to be, and so on. So again, my email is just craig@liquidtext.net, and you can also contact our customer support.
Peter asks, what are the benefits of tagging compared to just color highlighting as far as export to Word goes? Can I work with colors of highlights after exporting, i.e. automate based on color?
In Word, I can't tell you if there's any, I don't believe there's any substantial difference once you've done the export to Word for highlighting versus tagging. There's a lot of benefits to tagging within LiquidText itself, like for doing things like tag-based search. But once it's sort of left the LiquidText ecosystem and gone to Word, I would say they're probably about equivalent. But again, if there's a particular workflow that you want in terms of being able to automate working with these in Microsoft Word, that would be something that I would love to hear more about. Again, please write to us. We want to make our tagging functionality and our Word export as useful for you as possible.
There's a question I'm not sure I 100% understand, but the question is, how can we import citation judgments into the workspace?
I don't, unfortunately, I would need a little bit more context to know the right way to answer that, but I would say in general, you can import things into LiquidText by simply clicking Add Document, and then you have a variety of different sources that you can import the documents from, or you can just drag and drop the file directly into LiquidText. LiquidText supports, of course, PDF files natively, and it has built-in rapid conversion for Word files, PowerPoint files, and depending on your platform, for web pages and pictures and images as well.
Okay. I'm not sure we have enough time, as there's only about 1 minute left. We have a request. Can you show an example of making a dummy project? I presume this means from scratch, including importing the original documents.
Well, it's that one's pretty straightforward. Maybe we can do a really quick example. If just creating a new project, we just start by going to Open File, and you pick. We'll recreate our little expert witness project, the one that we just used with stem cells. So let's say we pick, let's say, one of the PDFs that we want. Select Open. You see LiquidText imports it, creates the project around it. And you see so far that's the only document. Now, if I go to Add Document, I can go to Document File. Let's say we go back to Expert Witness. I can select all the different documents I want. Maybe we pick up this one and pick up this one, and click on Open. And you see, it just brings them all right in. Any others? Or actually, unfortunately, I'm not sure there's time for others.
No, I think we're just about done here. So
Yeah.
would like very much to thank everyone who participated today. I would encourage you, we posted the address in our excuse me, in the Q&A, our YouTube channel. You'll find copies of this, excuse me, of this specific recording. The presentation that Craig made is also available in a number of different medium and longer form versions, as well as demonstration videos in other segments of law and other research contexts. We thank you very much for making your time available to spend with us this morning. We thank ILTA for being the venue for this. And we look forward to seeing you on LiquidText soon. Reach out to us directly if you have any further questions. And once again, thank you very much on the part of LiquidText, myself, Craig, and we certainly hope to be seeing you as users in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.